Hi everyone, this is Etihad, and today I'll show you guys the Italian game and some of the other lines with that. So, how does this work? White starts off with e4, black responds with e5. We attack the black pawn with knight to f3. Black defends it with knight to c6. And this is the key move, bishop to c5, bishop to c4. This is where we have transposed into the Italian game. So what do we do now? Well, actually, there's many things black can do here, but the main line continues with bishop to c5. But there's also other choices here. Let's start off with knight to f6. Now, this move, you can do a couple of things here. You can play d4, which is the Scotch gambit. After black takes our pawn, we castle on the king side. Here, there is a move, knight takes e4, but that looks very risky because of this move, rook to e1. Now, from black's perspective, this may seem like an easy pawn, and he may want to play this move, d5. Now, what is black actually doing here? Well, they're trying to attack our bishop here. Now, what do we want to do? There's this nice little shot. I don't expect beginners to find it, but who knows, you might. There's this move, bishop takes pawn. And after queen captures, we have this nice little move, knight to c3. Notice how the pawn can capture because of this queen hanging. And the black knight can't capture our white knight because the king is pinned. So what choice do you have? You just have to escape with the queen. So we have queen back to d8, or we also have queen to h5. And after this, black just loses the knight, and this just looks way better for white to play, and it's easier for white to play. I mean, computer says it's equal, but with humans, it's not that easy to play on from here. After bishop to e6, black's idea is to castle queenside and launch an attack on the king side. So that's just one of the lines. That's the Scotch gambit. So what else can black do here? Well, black can also play bishop to c5. Now, white could respond in a couple of manners, but what do you think white would want to do here? There's this gambit line, d4, but the Italian gambit, but I wouldn't recommend this for anyone that's over, 2000, because it doesn't usually work with high-rated players, but you can try your luck with lower-rated players with this move. Usually the move here is castle, then if black plays knight to f6, there, again, we can go into this gambit line, d4. Now what do we do with black? So in this gambit, the best move is bishop takes d4, but this looks unnatural because you're just giving up the bishop pair. So, and after we take the knight, yes, black might be up a pawn, but we have the bishop pair, and who knows, in the endgame, white might actually dominate the position, and if they're not an endgame player, white will likely win this. But yes, the best move is bishop takes. There's also knight captures, which is not that precise because we have here this knight captures this e5 pawn. Then usually black castles, but that's not the best move here. Because of this nice little move, bishop to e3. And after knight goes to e6 to defend the bishop, we just capture the black knight. Black captures our bishop. Then we check the king with our bishop. King to h8, and we drop back this bishop, and we're threatening knight to f7 at some point. So what does black do? Black must retreat the bishop because it's under attack right now. Then now we just play knight to f7, and black just loses an exchange here. So that's another of the line here. Black also has the option of playing e takes d4. With this move, we come into the Italian game max line attack with e5 here, and black here plays d5, attacking our bishop. We accept the knight. After black captures our bishop, we check the king. So this is the max line attack. Now there are a couple of moves here for black, but I think the best move here is just to play king. Well, there are a couple of moves here, but the blunder would be to play bishop to here. Bishop to e6. Now why is that a blunder, you might ask? Well, white can just play knight to g5, attacking this. Now if just, let's say black plays any move. Something, I don't know, like h6. That's actually a blunder because after knight takes, pawn takes, we check the king. Notice how the bishop, the dark squared bishop is under attack, so after the king goes anywhere, black loses the bishop here. So that move doesn't make sense. And if black plays anything else, let's say g6, then again, after a move like queen to f3, defending our pawn, black looks like it's in trouble here. After, let's say, castles, rook, either rook takes or knight takes, both looks fine. Pawn takes. Then we have this nice move, check, king to h8. Then this move, knight takes pawn. Now, this is slightly better for white, but I wouldn't go into this line if you don't know the theory too well, because this is considered taking a lot of risk here. So this is the max line attack. Oops, sorry. Okay, now there are several other moves. Now what else can black do here? Black can also go into this line. This is the bishop to e7. This is the I don't remember the name, what it was, but I think it was called Hungarian defense. I'm not too sure, but black can play bishop to e7. This is Hungarian defense. Now, usually white responds with knight to c3 or castle here. There's also this line d4, but there isn't much to be done here. Still drawn game because it's still the opening phase. After e takes, pawn, knight takes, queen takes. We have this move bishop to f6. We can't simply just play e5 here because there's queen to e7 and our pawn is under attack. And if we try to save it, black just plays here d6. It's just attacked way too many times and now we're just going down a pawn eventually. So we cannot play e5. So there's also the move queen to d5 threatening mate. The best move is queen to e7. Then after this we should just castle right away. c6. Then queen to d3. This is the Hungarian defense. It's just one of the lines. Oops. White can also play castle here right away. Then we just play a normal move like knight to f6, attacking the white pawn on e4. Then we play the move d3 here. Or there's also the move knight to c3. Both is fine. And after black castle, we could either play h3, eventually preventing the move bishop to g4 at some point. Or we can also play d3, that's also fine. Here usually black continues with, there's a couple of moves, usually d6 or maybe h6, preventing the move bishop to g5, but both are fine. And it's an equal game, so nothing special here. You just have to try to outplay your opponent from here. So that's the Hungarian defense. Now, if you're a gambit player, I would play this move, f5, but that's extremely dangerous because if you don't know the theory to this line, then you're just going to lose with the black pieces. So the move here is, there are a couple of moves actually. There's the move d4, which in hindsight looks like what is white actually doing here? I mean, aren't we just giving up a pawn here with this knight pawn takes e4? But no, that's not true. We're actually trying to checkmate the black king here. So after knight takes pawn, we have this nice little move d5. First to block off this diagonal for the bishop to attack. So the king can eventually castle on that side. So after a move like bishop to b5, we have this move, we have this move, queen to d6, defending this piece over here with the knight. So what do? The best move here is to play c4 or, oops. What's going on? God, I don't know what happened, but yeah, the best move there was to play queen to d6 at that moment and just play on from there. Here, let me try to go back. D5. Here, there we go. So the best move here was to play c4. Then we have the move a6 here. Now this is more or less an equal position at this point, but I wouldn't recommend this for beginners because this is really risky. But if you're an advanced player and want to take risks, then I would say go for it. Now we'll look at the most important one, the classical variation. Now the classical variation starts with black playing bishop to c5 and white plays the slow move c3. This is the main line here. So what is white's plan actually here? Well, white wants to build a center here, then eventually attack the black's king side. So black plays knight to f6, attacking our pawn. Then there are a couple of moves here. We can play d3 or queen to e2. Queen to e2 does look nice, but the queen is placed in an awkward position. And the move d3 also is nice, but I believe that's the best move, but I'm not sure what the plan long term is. If it was me, I would play just castle and just go for an attack with the knight capturing and the rook to... sorry. That's actually a blunder. That's a blunder. But no, with the move d4 here first. Now it's not so easy. Because after pawn takes, black is forced to play either bishop to b6, which is actually winning for white with the move d5, or okay, why does that happening? Why does that keep on happening? Sorry everyone, just give me a sec. So now here we play c3. So yes, I was showing you the gambit here, gambit line, but it's extremely risky for white, but it could also pay off if you know the main line here. I can try to cover this maybe in one of my another videos, but we'll see. So I wouldn't recommend for this line. You can just simply also play the move d3 here and just go for a slow positional win eventually. So that's the classical variation. Now I want to show you something that usually white should not play unless you really think you can pull this off. Now, what do you think this move might be? Okay, so the move here is oops, one sec. So the move here is bishop to c5. Again, if you're a gambit player, you would play this move, b4. This is called the Evans Gambit. Now, the point of this move is to create a strong center at some point, but there's also a lot of counterplays here for black as well. So after the move bishop takes, we have this move, pawn to c3. Pawn to c3. Now the main line is bishop to a5, but there's also this other line, bishop to c5. Then we just build a center with g4. After pawn takes, bishop check, knight b to d2. It's clear who has the better center, and eventually white will win if played precisely, but I still wouldn't recommend this line for white players. That's just me personally, but you can if you want to play this. The main line here is bishop to a5. So after bishop to a5, what do you think white actually does here? What's the plan? Again, the main move here is to play d4 and create the center. So after this move, we just play d4, pawn takes, then castle. Now if you're wondering, what if black gets greedy here and just takes our pawn? Well, we have this move, queen to b3. After a move like, I don't know, knight to h6 is actually a blunder, because after bishop takes, pawn takes, then we have this nice check, and the black king is just stranded out here. So that's not good. The best move from black is queen to f6. I think queen to e7 can also be played, but it's not as effective as queen to f6. So after this move, bishop to g5, that's what we play with the white pieces. Queen to g6, defending this square on f7. Now we finally capture this pawn. Bishop takes, queen takes. Now you may wonder, what is white trying to achieve here? Well, we want to try to checkmate our opponent, or we will just try to get a central advantage here. Just open everything up and move all our rooks in the center and attack the black king. So that's one of the lines for the Evans Gambit. So that's basically it, everyone, but there are a few more lines, but these are the main lines usually, and you won't really see any other lines aside from these. But so this is that Italian Gambit, or Italian game rather. There's also another line I want to show you before I go, as this is one of my favorite ones. But I don't usually think black should play this, but who knows? If they're a gambit type of player, they might do it. So after bishop to c5, we have this move. Sorry. After knight to c6, we have bishop to c4, knight to f6. Now here, if we go for the move knight to g5, there's this nice line, that Traxler attack. This is actually quite dangerous for white and black, because either side can mess up, and this is not such clear line, and it's not easy to remember either. So after the move knight takes, we have this move bishop takes. Now this looks counterintuitive to what we actually want to achieve. So after a move like, I don't know, king to f1, note we can't actually take that bishop because this will just give black attacking chances here after a move like, I don't know, king to f1, queen to h4, and black is already winning here. There's really not much to do here, and black's pieces are all coming into the attack. Let's say king to e1, then again queen to h4, and now we're just losing again. So only move is king to g1. Again, we try to play queen to h4 from black here. g3. Now we have this move knight takes. We can't actually take with the pawn, but that's just a draw then. King to f1, then rook to f8. This just goes into a drawn line if played correctly. Otherwise, black also wins here. So we usually with the white pieces, we don't take the bishop. We usually just play king to e2 or king to f1. For this game, I just want to show you guys king to f1 here. After queen to e7, we take the rook in the corner. Bishop to b6. Now what do you think white does here? There are a couple of moves here. There's bishop check and just, preventing castling rights on the queen side. So after a move like king to f8, knight check, takes. This is actually better for black here because the white king has few squares around the G line and the F2 and G1 line because of the dark squared bishops. And a move such as queen to c5 threatens mate, queen to e2, and there isn't really much to be done with the move knight to d4, so this is actually not that good. The best move here is knight to c3 after a move like d6. Then we just move our bishop back. Knight can capture here, but that would just give white the favorable position. The best move here is knight to d4. Putting some pressure on these key squares over here, closer to the king. Engine here recommends the move knight to d5, which just looks crazy here, but I could see why that's a possibility after knight takes, bishop takes, queen check, queen to f3, queen takes, pawn takes, and the move bishop check, king to e2, knight to d4 check, king to f2, and c6. Here you can see it's slightly better for white because of the exchange. So that's just the variation there. So after queen to e7, we should definitely always take it. Oops, sorry. Now let's look at the move king to e2. So what happens here? We check with the knight to d4 check. And if the king were to do something foolish like taking the bishop here, then we have knight check. Note we can't actually play king to e3 here because we're just gonna get mated with the king. After the move queen to h4, now this is just losing for white. It just seems like there's less escape squares for white here. So after a move like king to g1, again queen to h4 is a deadly reply. So in hindsight, the Traxler is a good line in respect to playing something like the fried liver attack. But it's up to you guys what you actually want to do. Traxler attack isn't easy to play, but if you aren't afraid to take risks, then I would recommend playing this line. So that'll be all, everyone. This is your Italian game, and I'll cover more openings later on.